All right, everyone, here we are. Here I am, solo. Solo. My dad always tells a joke. Oh God, I already forgot it. Do you wanna hear me sing? No, that's not how it goes. Okay, we're starting off to a good start. Solo, you can barely hear me. Do you want to hear me sing solo? Solo, you can barely hear me. Anyway, that's some of my bad humor. There we go. Here I am, over caffeinated, if you can't tell, with my crazy hair, uh, and on this gray, continuously gray May. I guess you'll get this in June. Hopefully, June is brighter than May. It's been a long time since I sat at this mic. Actually, I tend to record in batches in advance, so. The last few episodes I recorded over a month ago. It's 3 years, y'all, since the podcast began. And I always like to do a Ask Me Anything or reflection episode at least once, sometimes twice a year. Um, and I thought it was time to do that. So I have some reflections on the last year, I have some updates, and some questions for you. So let's chat. Let's chat. Um, I was looking back on the last year of the podcast, and because I had to remember, like, what episodes do we have on? And there were a lot. This was a great year. I mean, highlight Sharon Salzberg. What? Um, and I think I've been asking her for maybe 2 years if she would come on. So just gently, yeah, it's now a better time. It's been 6 months since I last reached out. So just a little lesson in persistence. That was really exciting. That was when I had my computer meltdown and I thought I could live with an iPad for 2 weeks. Like the guy at Apple convinced me I could do everything in my life on an iPad. I never have to have a laptop again. I thought it was so exciting. No one else believed this was true, and they were right. So that was recorded in kind of a funny way. But it worked. I hope you've heard that one. Another guest that I tried um, for years to bring on, David Trelevin, known for his work really coining trauma sensitive mindfulness. I did his level 1 and advanced trainings. If you're interested in a very, very comprehensive training on trauma sensitive mindfulness that you can do at your own pace, and he has a lot of guests that he recorded. Let me know. I have a special code. I think the code's just Lara, capitals. And I think it's pretty significant savings, like $400 on that. Loved that, both level 1 and level 2, and I use a lot of the things that he taught me. Spring Washam. Why am I bringing up these are the great guests, but they all had kind of like behind the scenes moments. Spring, who I think I discovered through 10% Happier podcast, and just fell in love with. She, that the only episode that I ever lost the recording of. When you learn how to podcast, they really warn you, like, always have a backup, like, even if it's your phone recording, because it would be so embarrassing if you have to tell your guest that the whole thing is not there. This was also around the time this was the iPad, so I was trying new technology. I went back to a laptop. But I think our second recording was better. And Spring was so patient with me. And it was the timing. If you haven't listened to that one, we talk about the times. So that was the second time we recorded was post-election. And Spring offers just a lot of great insight on, especially for people that are leaders or leading others at this time, but also for anyone that wants to drop into or stay in heart-centered practice. So how do we really crack ourselves open to feel it all and be regulated and call on spirit to be with us? There's a lot there. Some of my other favorite episodes, actually one that I post about a lot, is on journaling, journal prompts. If you haven't done that one, or if you maybe want to listen to it again, journaling's become a big part of my personal practice every morning. Um, and they're great prompts there. We talked about narcissistic disorder and how to deal with that, especially if you have a mother who's narcissistic. We had an episode on prayer, on boundaries. We had an episode on death and the death doula process, which I'm a death doula. We had one on attachment theory. And I had Harville and Helen on, authors of Getting the Love You Want. Super famous book. Harville's been on Oprah, I think 13 times. Wow. So that's your relationship episode. And my husband and I use the skills from that. And now I'm like inspired to learn Imago. So I might go ahead and go into couples work and get certified in the Imago style. That might be in the future. Um, what else? I had one of Timo's teachers on, Mark Coleman, the intersection of Buddhist traditions and being in nature. It's just been a strong year, I thought. I hope you thought so too. I'm very, very thoughtful and specific about what topics I cover and who I have on. I do say no to quite a lot of requests, quite a lot. And I think about what I'm cultivating for you and the body of work, what angles we haven't looked at. And I'm always open to your suggestions of topics or guests. So please let me know. I do go through kind of like blank periods, or, I want to say burnouts, not burnout, but just where I'm not inspired or I'm not sure where I want to go with things. And been going through a little bit of that. And there might be some changes to the podcast, but I'll tell you what's coming in a minute. I want to share some personal updates. Just this month of May, I turned 45, which I'm pretty excited about. My daughter and I are suddenly very into the number 9. I'll take a sip of this coffee and just keep this coffee buzz going. And yeah, I just feel that I was going to say I'm in transition, but I feel like I'm ending like 7 years of transition. And maybe some of you feel like that as well. So I actually feel like, whew, through something, and just a couple lingering things, but very much like a very close now to stepping into the next thing, and even kind of energetically already like, I'm done. So in December, it started like the beginning of the end of the transition. And in December, I started really honing in on my morning practice again, putting myself first. Some of you probably know that I've been in grad school for 3 years. I'm about to graduate in August. And so early mornings had to be for writing papers, but that was starting to become like too much of an investment, too much of myself. So I figured at this point, grades are good. And if, the papers aren't as great, I'm seeing clients, and my wellness, my centering, my all of that is so important when I'm with clients, that I'm well. So I figured that's more important than the paper. So I started getting back into a really strong morning routine. I usually have my coffee lovers tea from Tay Tea in Delhi, New York, up here in the Western Catskills. Light a candle, call in some support, and have a sitting meditation practice. Then I do a journal question, maybe meditate again and write. Sometimes I do some gentle stretching, yoga-ish things. I also I have my workout routine. I've been into kettlebells in the last year or two. I do a little bit of HIIT stuff. Some of you know that I hike quite a lot, and I'm about to finish my Catskill High Peaks. Yeah, probably by the end of the summer, maybe even sooner. So hiking's been huge for me. I also do take a yoga class once a week, which has been really, really fun. So shout out to Yoga People, Onyanta. Kelsey, the owner, is very special and has created a very safe culture there. I have my favorite teacher, Megan, and so shout out to you, Megan. Also, like really in that spirit where I was nervous, y'all, because I've been in Ashtanga yoga for over 2 decades, and sorry, I'm moving around a little bit here. Pretty much a self practice, except for maybe once a year. Until it's been a while now, until 2016, it's almost 10 years, going to Mysore, being around a lot of people. But going into group classes has never really been my thing, and also other styles of yoga. But I find that I really am being called to pulling on tradition. I mean, I'm not talking about just, you know, getting all sort of making things up. I feel like I'm so rooted in tradition over 2 decades, but now like being able to explore or, paint out of the lines a bit. And so I feel like that's what's really offered there in those classes. There's the sun salutations, and kind of poses that are kind of standard to what I know from Ashtanga. But then there's like some different flows. And usually about, I would say 3/4 away in, I just start throwing in my stuff. Like, what does my body need? Throw in some second series, like whatever feels right. And Megan's and everyone there is like, you can always listen to your body and do your own thing. So I feel like I don't even feel embarrassed. I feel like I'm like, they let me do my thing. So it's pretty awesome. And I'm very appreciative because doing that, being in a space with other people and practicing together has been really great for me. So I teach up here once a week on Thursday mornings at 8:30 with advanced registration. And I teach privates and private groups that come up. I just did a private group um, at my friend's Steady Slope Airbnb camping site. So what else? What else? Just trying to think what's been going on. Oh yeah, and I've also taught a couple other really cool groups. SUNY Delhi, they're sports administration students. They have a program that they do with folks from Pathfinder Village, which are adults with Down syndrome, where they do sports together. And I led a yoga series. So that was really great. My friend Beth sort of linked me into that opportunity. Um, and so I'm just having fun doing a lot of different things. And I'm looking forward to graduating in August, and also just like keeping exploring new hobbies and being creative and having a little more space in my schedule. So I'm trying to make more space. I'm trying to stop doing things, even like um, brand building, like all extra things that take up time, even if it's a few minutes or headspace that are unnecessary. And I just want to have more time with my family, more time with my daughter, and more time for myself. I might do some singing lessons. I might join my husband and daughter and learn some jujitsu or women's self-defense. I just want to keep trying things. I really have a goal that I want to learn how to knit. I tried with a YouTube, but it was a little confusing. So if anyone has tips for me, it's 3 intense years at Wake Forest University, and I'm pretty excited to finish that. It's a great program. And I've been honing in on this last year on the combination of talk therapy and somatic practices, breath work, self holding, and just really coming up with my unique way of integrating Eastern and Western practices and philosophy and cognitive and more body based practices. And I really think I'm getting there. I have a kind of way of working now. And I'm proud of that. I'm very, very excited. I love individual therapy and groups as well. I love doing therapy. So I'm very excited to be a therapist next. Roles changing, titles changing. So there'll be more on that soon. Um, and I have more certifications to do. My word for this year has been presence. Usually I pick a word, at least sometimes a word will last me like 3 years. Sometimes it'll last me 3 months. And presence is the word I chose this year as my focus word. If you purchase the Bliss Book, my Bliss Book, which is a coaching program and life purpose journal, one of the practices we do is like how to pick your word. And so being present, part of it is just dropping in right to each moment, but another thing that affects it is your environment. It's hard to be present if you have a million things on your plate. And so part of being present for me is really ending some things, like I said, and dropping some things that don't make sense. So I can really be present. So I've been thinking about, oh my gosh, I was thinking about ending the podcast. I'm like, should we keep going? Should we keep going, guys? If I don't have great ideas and great guests, like I don't want to put out content. That's why I don't put out like a show every week. So I will say that the cadence might change. I don't know that I want to be like locked into a pressure of everyone knows that this comes out every other Monday. But every time I try, do you all believe in signs? Do you believe in signs? Because I ask for signs and like I feel like I receive signs. And every time I think about ending the podcast, there is something really weird that happens that's like, no, 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 no. And so it happened again. So I'm not going to get too much into it, but there was a sign to keep going. And then I had a new inspiration, and I have a really cool series of shows that are going to come out for you. Okay. Um, should we talk about it? They're going to be related to things that happen in the bedroom. Don't get too like, the show's not going to change, but it's going to be about like trauma, post trauma or post stress, like how does that affect sleep? How do we deal with sleep? It's going to be about dreams. It's going to be about intimacy. So we're going to have at least 3 episodes that are going to be like a trilogy on those topics that I'm putting together right now. And I have a few other kind of big guests that I'm in the process of trying to lure in. So stick with me. I think these are going to be very exciting. It might not be the same cadence. There might be a few weeks off for me to put this all together. And like I said, to not have a pressure so I could be more creative. 3 years, y'all, 3 years. It's pretty amazing. So I think it's a good time to like evaluate, reevaluate, maybe change like the cadence that we put things out, but also to get re-inspired. And you are the ones that inspire me. Like whenever you repost an episode, whenever you send me an email that you liked an episode, like that really, really helps. Because sometimes you feel like you're putting things out in the ether. So please continue to do it. Tell your friends to listen, tag me, post, share. All that stuff really helps me and it helps the show get out. If you haven't done a written review yet, I don't mean just like a rating, a 5-star rating, but like writing just a few sentences. That also helps the show to get seen. And I just want you to know I appreciate you. I'm thinking all the time about how I can serve you. What are things that folks, would benefit from learning from, and in my own unique way that I could bring to you. And so I hope you're feeling it. I hope you're feeling the love, and I hope to hear from you. And I guess that's it. That's the news. And you'll hear me back on with a guest in a few weeks. So ciao for now. And like I said, send a message. Thanks.